Brian Kennedy, I saw him come in the room. Where's Brian? Yeah, Brian. Time to work. Time to work, Brian. This is an arbitration that deals with a case relating to Major League Baseball. Now, the Major League Baseball Council is Kim Lefevre. The Major League Baseball Players Association Council is Mike Howell. Bill, tell people where to stand.
Okay, let's have the union on this side, and let's have the management, Major League Baseball on this side.
Okay, the Grievance Council is Charity. The Grievance, Alex Roder, is Bill Cannon. Yeah, indeed. Major League Baseball witness, Janowski. No, I don't think we need the witnesses out here yet.
Oh, let them sit right behind.
Major League Baseball witness, Carl Anderson. Union witness, Cam Bennett. Other. And
Right there,
union witness, Robert Marioni.
Phil, do we need the witnesses have their scores?
Yes, the witnesses are seated right behind counsel, and there's a script in their chair.
Okay, so Robert Marioni, you're a union witness, so the union is on this side. And Major League Baseball is over there. Where Phil tells you.
Okay, Phil.
Probably sit at the table with you're one of the arbitrators.
Are you the Players Association arbitrator?
I know who you are.
Baseball, Major League Baseball.
You don't have curtains. You're looking backstage.
So union's on my left, right, management's on my.
That's why I was thinking, it's over here.
Yeah, right, right, union's over here.
Here's an
Hey, right. Oh,
This is
what
no,
you-
is this any different?
Yeah,
I know you went through
no, it's all the same.
Patricia Houlihan.
I know who I know who I am, but
Vincent Carter is Carl Anderson.
okay.
And Andrew Booth is Cam Bennett. And Francis Fletcher is Tom Janowski. And Gary Jones is Robert Marioni. Yes, the names are on the right. The union witness, Gary Jones, a.k.a. Bobby,
Oh.
Robert Marioni.
Gotcha.
Say what? Andrew Booth is the union witness, Cam Bennett, so that would be on the other side. You're on there.
We'll let you hang in.
Tom Janowski, we have a seat for you behind the management side. You're a management witness. You're in the wrong thing. My fault, sir. Not clarifying where.
Okay, so grievance.
And then Carl Anderson.
Do you write this stuff up?
I did.
I lost track of you. I think.
We get time. All right, so does everyone know who they are?
You all hear over there? You might want to come in close.
Yes.
Not over. The Athens State students, those who sit in the back row are usually troublemakers.
Counsel, do you have your agreement? Jerry, do you have your agreement? Does he have his agreement? Where's A-Rod? Oh, you're A-Rod.
Oh.
Where's Mr. Tapioca?
Hang on, Mr. Tapioca is Jerry Lee.
Okay, who is?
I'm Alex Rodriguez, agreement. Okay.
Furthermore, he continually denied that he had taken these banned substances in the face of positive tests for PEDs and PESs. Mr. Rodriguez has previously admitted his use of steroids in 2007 on national television in an interview on 60 Minutes with Katie Couric. His behavior in 2013 in using banned substances is just a continuation of his aberrant behavior that violated league policy.
What justifies a 211-game suspension to Mr. Rodriguez?
Mr. Rodriguez is an admitted repeat offender. He continually denied any use of banned substances. However, test results and eyewitness testimony confirms that Alex Rodriguez is a habitual drug-using liar whose behavior undermines the integrity of the game of baseball. Major League Baseball has no choice but to impose the harshest penalty possible short of a lifetime ban from baseball.
Oh, no further questions. Your witness, counsel.
Cross-examination, Mr. Kaline.
Good morning, Mr. Fletcher. My name is Al Kaline, and I represent the agreement and the Players Association. I have a few questions.
Good morning. Nice to see you again, Mr. Kalin.
Mr. Fletcher, did Major League Baseball suspend Mark McGuire for using growth-enhancing substances?
No.
Did Major League Baseball suspend Rafael Palmeiro for steroid use?
No.
Did Major League Baseball suspend Sammy Sosa for steroid use?
No.
Did Major League Baseball suspend Barry Bonds for using Flagpole?
No.
Did Major League Baseball prevail in an arbitration hearing involving alleged human growth hormone used by Ryan Braun?
No. The arbitrator ruled against us, and we fired him after he ruled against us.
How many games did Major League Baseball suspend Ryan after he admitted using banned substances?
50 games.
So you suspend Ryan for admitted using banned substances, and you suspend the grievant Alex Rodriguez 211 games for alleged use of banned substances. Can you explain to the panel why A-Rod's use of banned substances warranted a suspension 4 times longer than Ryan?
Rodriguez lied and engaged in a pattern of deceit and denial while Ryan Braun admitted his use of banned substances. The penalties were appropriate in both cases.
No further questions.
Any questions on redirect? Ms. Houlihan.
No, Mr. Chairman, no questions.
All right, Mr. Fletcher, thank you very much for your testimony, sir. You're excused. You may take your seat. For the witnesses to call on behalf of Major League Baseball. Ms. Houlihan, do you call Mr. Vincent Carter?
I don't see this written.
Yes, you do. Mr. Carter, would you come forward, please?
Yes, I call Mr. Carter.
Good morning, Mr. Carter.
Good morning.
Please state your name for the record.
Vincent Dominic Carter. My friends just call me Vinny.
Very well. Mr. Carter, if you'd kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge and recollection?
I do.
Very well. The witness is with you. Ms. Houlihan.
Hey, Mr. Carter, by whom are you employed?
I work here and there. I help people out as sort of a runner, go-between, confidant, and all-round life coach.
Do you have a relationship with Alex Rodriguez?
Yeah. He's my cousin, and I do favors and things for him.
What kind of favors would you do for your cousin?
I would deliver cash payments to his drug supplier. I would bring him back a package of creams, needles, pills, powders, and other stuff.
Did you ever observe Mr. Rodriguez inject himself with a syringe?
What the hell is a syringe? You mean a needle? Yeah, I've seen him stick his butt. He would stick a needle in his butt. He had a schedule of butt sticks, pink creams, and pills that he took on a daily and weekly basis. He told me that the schedule he kept fooled the drug tests.
How much did your cousin Alex Rodriguez pay you?
He paid me $5,000 for each delivery and $25,000 to keep my mouth shut. It was a good gig. I also listened to his complaints about Jeter, getting all the good press in New York and how Madonna and Cameron Diaz were really good.
No further questions. Your witness.
Mr. Kaline, questions on cross-examination?
Good morning, Mr. Carter. My name is Al Kaline, and I represent your cousin and the Players Association.
Wow, Al Kaline. I remember when you played right field for the Tigers, and now you're a union lawyer? Who knew?
Mr. Carter, how did Mr. Rodriguez pay you?
He always paid in cash, usually in large bills in an envelope.
Did you declare those earnings on your federal tax return?
No way. Are you kidding me? I was doing a favor for my cousin. I was working for my cousin and not Uncle Sam.
So there are no official records of these alleged payments?
There were no records. What do you think we are, IBM or something? There were no green stamps, no bonus points, no receipts. It was strictly family business.
You testified that you observed Mr. Rodriguez inject himself into the butt with a needle. Is that correct?
Yeah, he stuck his butt with a needle. So what?
Did Mr. Rodriguez inject himself in the left buttock or his right buttock when you observed him stick his butt with a needle?
I don't remember. His buttocks is not something I try to remember.
So you don't know what cheek Mr. Rodriguez injected himself with the needle?
He stuck the needle in his butt, not his cheek. What's the matter with you? You don't know the difference between a butt and a cheek, and you're a lawyer?
Do you know exactly what Mr. Rodriguez injected into his butt?
No, I wasn't interested in watching his butt or his needle.
No further questions.
Any questions on redirect for this witness? Ms. Houlihan.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. Mr. Carter, thank you very much for your testimony, sir. You're excused. May take your seat. Any further witnesses to call on behalf of Major League Baseball?
Yes, Mr.
Very well. All right. Now, the panel is ready to receive the union's case in Maine. Mr. Kaline, are you ready to call your first witness?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The union calls Andrew Booth.
Mr. Booth, if you would please come forward and take this witness chair. Mr. Booth, would you please state your name for the record?
Yes, Mr. Booth.
You have a first name, Mr. Booth?
Andrew, you can call me Andy.
Mr. Booth, would you kindly raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm, no, the other right hand, that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge and recollection?
I will.
Thank you, sir. The witness is with you. Please proceed, Mr. Kaline.
Mr. Booth, what is your educational background?
I have a Doctor of Medicine degree from Central America Health and Sciences School of Medicine in Belize. And I earned a BA in Biology from the University of Miami in Miami, Florida.
What do your parents do for a living?
Well, both my parents are physicians.
You hold a Doctor of Medicine degree and both of your parents are physicians. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I grew up in a medical family and followed that same career path.
Okay, time out. I want to give you an example of objectionable testimony. Okay? The objection that we're off script, all right? But I want you to know, if that testimony had come forward, counsel would object immediately. Objection. What's the nature of your objection? It is not relevant. What his parents have done or didn't do does not establish his credentials. Arbitrator would say, objection sustained. You want another line of inquiry, Mr. Kaline, and everyone would calm down and we would go forward. But we are remaining in character, but I want you to understand that there are some things that were allowed on direct testimony during the league's case in Maine that were also objectionable. Right? So we let it go in order to facilitate our time here. But that one, even for the script writer, was a little beyond the pale. So we'll go back. All right, we'll have time for questions later, and there's some other areas we can explore as well. But that would be an objectionable piece of testimony. All right, very well. Mr. Kaline, I apologize for interrupting your inquiry of this witness. Please continue with your direct examination.
Thank you. What do you do for a living, Mr. Booth?
I direct an anti-aging clinic in South Florida that provides hormone replacement therapy and nutritional medicine services to a variety of clients. The clinic operates under the same biogenesis, and I serve as executive director and chief executive officer of the clinic.
Are there particular services that your clinic emphasizes?
Yes, we believe that the best way to promote health and delay or avoid the ravages of aging is through improved and enhanced nutrition. Our clinical nutrition program, combined with research and education, have proven the old adage that you are what you eat.
Can you briefly describe your clinical nutrition program?
Yes, the clinical nutrition refers to a carefully planned diet regimen which our clients follow a scheduled program taking nutritional supplements to enhance their energy level and alertness. Clients are encouraged to exercise regularly and follow this prescribed daily calorie allocation and schedule. The nutritional supplements include wheat germ, fish oils, and St. John's wort.
Do you recommend any illegal or banned substances to your clients?
No, absolutely not.
Was Alex Rodriguez one of your clients?
Yes, he was. Mr. Rodriguez came to our clinic seeking our assistance in his efforts to recover from hip surgery and improve his overall stamina and physical prowess.
What type of program did you recommend for Mr. Rodriguez?
I recommended a daily fat-burning energy cocktail combined with an amino acid therapy cocktail with supplemental vitamin C and omega oil. Mr. Rodriguez was instructed to continue his workout regimen by cross-training with both hydrotherapy and aerobic exercise. I have suggested he apply testosterone creams in the evening. He also took multivitamins and zinc.
Did you ever recommend Mr. Rodriguez take illegal drugs?
No, absolutely not.
Well, how do you account for Major League Baseball reporting that Mr. Rodriguez had positive tests for banned substances?
Faulty testing procedures. The tests are suspect and should not be relied on.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. Your witness, counsel.
Mr. Booth, good morning. My name is Patricia Houlihan, and I have a few questions for you. Are you a licensed physician?
No, I have a Doctor of Medicine degree, but I'm not a licensed physician.
So you are practicing medicine without a license?
Not at all. I design and recommend clinical nutrition programs for clients that come to my clinic for advice and encouragement.
I see. Why did Mr. Rodriguez need to apply testosterone cream to himself in the evenings?
He used the cream to enhance his healing and tissue growth.
Is that why you call it at your clinic tissue growth?
Yes, testosterone cream promotes tissue growth.
Did you recommend that Mr. Rodriguez take human growth hormones?
No, absolutely not.
Why do you think Mr. Rodriguez tested positive for HGH?
I have no idea.
No further questions.
Mr. Booth, thank you very much for your testimony, sir. You're excused. You may take your seat. Mr. Kaline, do you have further witnesses to call on behalf of the union?
Yes, the union calls Gary Jones.
Mr. Jones, if you would come forward, please. Take the witness stand. Mr. Jones, would you please state your name for the record?
Gary Jones.
Mr. Jones, would you kindly raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge and recollection?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. The witness is with you. Mr. Kaline.
Mr. Jones, are you known by any other name?
Yes, please know me as Bobby.
Have you ever had any dealings with Major League Baseball?
Well, I wanted to pitch for the Atlanta Braves, but my fastball only was 40 miles an hour. So that didn't work out too well. An investigator from Major League Baseball asked me about my notebooks and jump drives that I received from an associate. My associate said the notebooks and jump drives had the treatment records for biogenesis for Alex Rodriguez. He asked me to destroy them and paid me $5,000 to get rid of them.
Did you destroy the notebooks and jump drives?
No. I figured if they were worth $5,000 to be destroyed, they had to be worth more than that to somebody who wanted to see what was in the notebooks than on the jump drive.
How did the investigator from Major League Baseball find you?
He had an interview with Mr. Booth, and he mentioned that my associate did some work for him. He then told the investigator about me.
Did the investigator offer you anything for the notebooks and the jump drives, the 4 jump drives?
Yeah, he told me that Major League Baseball would pay me $100,000 for the notebooks and the 4 jump drives.
Did you take the money for the notebooks and jump drives?
Damn right I did. It was the best payday I ever had. It was so much better deal than destroying the stuff for $5,000. You do the math.
Why did Major League Baseball pay so much for those notebooks and jump drives?
Because they were out to get Alex Rodriguez.
You're a witness.
Mr. Jones, Bobby, what do you do for a living?
Do a lot of odd jobs, and favors, fix things for people.
Have you ever been arrested?
Oh, sure, lots of times. But I've never been convicted. Have you ever been arrested? It's not that bad.
I won't take your word for it, Mr. Jones. Do you do favors and fix things for Mr. Booth at Biogenesis?
Sure, I did lots of favors and fixed things for Mr. Booth. He always paid on time, and I appreciated that.
But you didn't get rid of the notebooks and the jump drives that you knew came from Mr. Booth. Why not?
Well, I'm a businessman, and I know if those notebooks and jump drives were worth $5,000 to be destroyed, they had to be worth a lot more to somebody else. And I was right. $95,000 worth of right.
So you would do a favor, fix something, or testify for whomever paid the most money. Is that right?
I like to get paid for the full value of my work. So you could say that my services are available to the highest bidder.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Jones. No further questions.
Mr. Jones, thank you very much for your testimony. Excused, you may take your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard a presentation on behalf of Major League Baseball, who bears the burden of proof. They have to offer credible evidence that meets the standard of clear and convincing evidence that this grievance, Alexander Rodriguez, violated Major League Baseball's drug prevention program, and that the penalty imposed, a 211-game suspension, was justified. You have heard the testimony of witnesses defending Mr. Rodriguez. They have said that Major League Baseball engaged in a series of payoffs to obtain evidence to further sully the reputation of the 3-time most valuable player, 12-time All-Star, lifetime 300 hitter. Whom do you believe? Let's look at this case. First of all, the charge. Is there evidence that Mr. Rodriguez violated the drug prevention program? Specifically in her opening statement, what did Ms. Houlihan say she was going to prove? The evidence will show. You heard that how many times in her opening statement? Several times, right? She said what regarding the tests for performance-enhancing drugs, performance-enhancing substances? What did she say? Did she assert that Mr. Rodriguez had failed these tests? Was there any evidence presented of the test results? Specifically, what substances did Major League Baseball assert that Mr. Rodriguez had used? There were 2 in the opening statement. What were they? Human growth hormone, HGH, and testosterone. Now, the drug testing program is in evidence. Okay? You don't have it before you. But I will tell you that both human growth hormone and testosterone are banned substances. Okay? But do we have any test results on the record? Is that a problem? Might be. Okay. So the lesson there is, don't make promises you can't keep. If you tell the arbitrator in your opening statement, the evidence will show that Mr. Rodriguez failed the drug test for banned substances, specifically human growth hormone and testosterone, and you produce no evidence, the question in the arbitrator's mind is, if they didn't prove that charge, can you sustain the penalty? Can you sustain that there was a violation? All right? What else? What did you hear? What did you hear from Major League Baseball? Who did you hear from? Who did you hear from? You heard two witnesses, right? Mr. Fletcher, tell them who you are.
No, well, I work for Major League Baseball.
You're the chief operating officer, aren't you? Right, okay. Who issued the suspension letter? Specifically, who issued the letter? Mr. Tapioca, you can tell us. Bud Selig, the commissioner of baseball. Is he the CEO of baseball? Okay, but he is the top official in Major League Baseball, correct? Let me ask you this question. In your organizations, does the CEO or the top management official of the entire organization issue disciplinary suspensions? Who does? Labor relations director, manager, whomever is authorized to do it. But is the top official at the Tennessee Valley Authority the one who signs suspension notices? No, absolutely not. But in this case, we have a copy of the actual suspension letter, and it is signed by the Commissioner of Baseball, Alan H. Bud Selig. So, if he was the deciding official, if he was the official who actually issued the discipline and outlined the specific grounds upon which the suspension was based, should he be subject to Mr. Tapioca's subpoena? What do you think?
Mr. Tech.
Well, this issue did come up at the hearing. And it is the practice of Major League Baseball and the Players Association to keep all of the proceedings confidential. The only reason that I have a copy of this is that Mr. Tapioca made good on his promise. He filed a federal lawsuit in federal court challenging the result of the arbitration decision, saying that the arbitrators were biased and that his client did not receive a fair hearing. And in filing that federal lawsuit, he attached a copy of the arbitration award. Therefore, it was in the public domain. Therefore, a few clicks on the internet, and here it is. And it serves as a wonderful teaching tool. So now the question of the subpoena. Right? The general counsel for the Major League Baseball Players Association and an attorney from the Office of the Commissioner appeared on a panel presentation on sports law at the National Academy of Arbitrators annual meeting in Chicago. And someone in the audience asked a question about the subpoena and why the arbitrator denied the motion for the subpoena. None of them wanted to talk about it. It was asked, is it a practice? Is it a policy? Is it a rule? Why wasn't the deciding official subpoenaed to testify as to why he imposed this suspension? What was the evidence he based the alleged violation on? And why did he impose a suspension of 211 games when the schedule of penalties in the policy calls for a 50-game suspension for the first violation, a 100-game suspension for the second violation, and a lifetime ban from baseball on the third violation. Are deciding officials usually on the list of witnesses to testify at a disciplinary hearing? Well, the answer is yes. So the question then becomes, why did Major League Baseball designate the commissioner to be the deciding official and actually issue the disciplinary action? They did not want to answer that question. They did not want to talk about it. And if we look at a current case that was heard just last week in another professional sport, we saw a different result. Okay? Well, I'm speaking about Roger Goodell, who is the commissioner of the National Football League. The league and the NFLPA conducted an evidentiary hearing on the suspension of Ray Rice. The union subpoenaed Commissioner Roger Goodell. The NFL went to court in an attempt to get the subpoena quashed. Well, the judge looked at the evidence and said, well, wait a minute, Mr. Goodell is the one who made the decision. Therefore, of course he should testify. His testimony is relevant and material to the issue at hand. So, in my thinking, football got it right, well, the judge in that case got it right. In baseball, you know, if they had said it is our practice, it is our policy, okay, but to say, and this is what they did say, he is the chief executive officer of Major League Baseball, no CEO ever testifies at an arbitration hearing. Well, you may be correct. However, deciding officials testify all the time. So don't make the commissioner your deciding official. Yes, sir, question there.
Just coming back to evidence, the COO testified that he uses the AMPs, PESs, and that he admitted on television, in public, that he used steroids. And so there seems to be considerable evidence that he used drugs, banned drugs. Now you might say it's countered by the other witnesses who said he never gave it to him, but just because that one person never gave it to him doesn't mean anybody else in the world can give it to him.
And the admission was in 2007, and the admission was on 60 Minutes to Katie Kirk. Was he charged with using steroids in this case? No, he was not. Now, the assertion by the chief operating officer that he did use banned substances, is it supported by any other evidence? Do we have test results? No. Okay?
I presume they exist.
No, that's something different. That's something different. Okay, all right. You know, in the actual hearing, okay, the Players Association produced the test results. And what the test results showed, they were negative. Because the tests for human growth hormone and testosterone was a urinalysis test. In order to detect human growth hormone, it has to be a blood test. You can detect testosterone in urine. However, Alex Rodriguez received instruction as to at what point in his stream of urine to provide the sample to be tested. These are things that you don't encounter in your day-to-day life. So, who knew that it's midstream if you want to avoid detection in the urinalysis test?
So was I lying?
You were putting the best face on your case. The steroid testimony was absolutely true, right? And there was a videotape played. Let me, you know, just back up and stop talking for a minute. If you had to decide this case based on what we heard this morning,
That's the issue.
would you uphold the suspension of Alex Rodriguez? Or would you find that there was insufficient evidence to prove the specific charge brought against Alex Rodriguez? Go ahead, speak up.
Not enough evidence.
Not enough evidence? What standard of evidence would you apply?
The test, first off, came back negative, so they didn't have any.
But you didn't hear that. You didn't hear that this morning, though.
Oh, well, she didn't do the test.
That's correct. But she bears the burden of proof, correct? Yeah, okay. All right, so standard of evidence, right? Preponderance of the evidence, greater weight on one side than the other. Clear and convincing evidence, it's a higher standard, right? It's not just one outweighs the other, but in the trier of fact's mind, either the judge, the jury, or the arbitrator, that the evidence is persuasive. It is clear and it is convincing, okay? And one moment. Standard of evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, that's the highest standard of proof. And that is a criminal standard, right? And it is not properly applied in an administrative proceeding such as arbitration unless the allegation is of a criminal nature, okay? So in this case, the Major League Baseball argued for preponderance of the evidence. The Players Association argued higher standard, clear and convincing. The arbitrator ruled that the evidence met the standard of clear and convincing. Yeah, go ahead.
But
Alex.
in this case, is the arbitrator or the panel not holding Major League Baseball to the standard it set for itself of what it would show in this hearing?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what's at stake. Yeah. And did they meet that standard that they set for themselves? They didn't. I don't think they brought that evidence.
Nothing like the grievant to argue his own case. Well, what do you think? Let's hear from folks back there at that table. Do you think Major League Baseball offered sufficient evidence to meet the standard of proof?
Because they're supposed to show the burden of proof, they should be keeping to the higher standards so they can prove their case. And if they're not willing, it's almost like they're not doing their job in a way. Because it's like, you want to show the burden of proof, prove it. Because that's how you're going to win your case.
Yeah.
And they want to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Sure.
I really don't know. Is it legal for the baseball profession to pay that
Didn't you hear Mr. Malloy last night talk about free enterprise? There are materials, it is very, very interesting at some of the other issues that came up in this case. There was a whole lot that went on. Indeed, there were a number of actions that were taken that both sides questioned. Right? Is the evidence that was obtained the fruit of the poison tree? Right? Was it illegal? I don't think the purchase of materials itself are illegal. If Mr. Booth was attempting to arrange to have evidence that had been subpoenaed by Major League Baseball destroyed, was his actions in violation of civil procedure? Some would say yes, they are. So merely paying for information on its face is not illegal. However, by paying for it, it may undermine the credibility of that evidence and a witness testifying about it. Yes, other questions were coming. Here, you got some there you want to... How are we doing?
So, the player obtained his testosterone training from the doctor in Miami.
Okay, careful, careful, careful. He's not a doctor.
Well, from the medical practitioner or whatever.
Well, he's not a licensed doctor. He is a doctor.
He denied the HGH. So was the HGH obtained illegally from street stores or something?
Human growth hormone is used to promote healing. It in and of itself, properly used, is not an illegal substance. But Major League Baseball has banned the use of human growth hormones. It is viewed as a performance-enhancing substance or performing-enhancing drug.
So you can get it without prescription?
Well, I'm not, well, if it's properly used, can you get it without a prescription? I don't know specifically the answer to that. I know it is a substance that is used by medical professionals to assist people post-surgery. Okay.
So like pocket knives are legal, you can buy them at Walmart, but you cannot use them on a TGA work site. You're banned.
Okay. All right. All right, we got a question here, question there with a microphone. Go ahead.
Just so it's legal to purchase, but it's the administration of how you use it.
Okay, all right, but HGH, is it a Schedule 1, a Schedule 2, a Schedule 3 psychotropic drug? No, it is used in a medical capacity, it's fine. Whether or not you can go out and buy human growth hormone, I really don't know the answer to that question. Okay? But what we do know for our purposes, it is a banned substance. So if you're a Major League Baseball player and you're using human growth hormone, you're in violation of the substance policy, and if you're caught, you are subject to a 50-game suspension. The National Football League and the Players Association have just reached an agreement on a drug program, and HGH is one of the banned substances. They've agreed on a testing program, and anyone who has violated it has the right to go to arbitration, and they are selecting the arbitration panels now. So it's becoming more and more of an issue. So I'm sure all the arbitrators will get a much better education as these issues come forward. Okay, question had
I
been.
believe you said that the penalty for the first offense was 50 days,
Yes.
100 days for second, and lifetime ban on the third.
Correct.
How did they come up with 211 days?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Here's the rationale. The Major League Baseball said, indeed, your first violation is 50 games. Well, we know Major League Baseball contended that he used testosterone. We know that he used it continually for all of 2011, all of 2012, and 2013 until we tested and he knew we were onto him and we launched a major investigation. So we have one instance of testosterone, 2 instances of testosterone, and 3 instances of testosterone. 1 is 50, 2 is 100, and now we're up to the lifetime ban. And we have compelling evidence, not test results, but compelling evidence that he used human growth hormone on 1 occasion, 2 occasions, 3 occasions. And there was a third substance he used, which was an insulin-based medicine that was also used as part of his enhancing cocktail. And so the rationale was we could take each of these and build up to a lifetime ban. So what they did essentially was to ban him from play the rest of the 213 season and all of the 214 season. And so the remaining games in 213 and all the 162 games, and that's how they came up with 211 games. Yeah.
Is not the 50-game, 100-game lifetime what we would call a progressive disciplinary procedure? And the logic of it is that when people get 50 games, that they've been taught a lesson. And I've seen this in cases where in a disciplinary case, people will do something similar, and they'll say that we didn't need a verbal warning and a written warning and a 3-day suspension. We're just jumping all the way to, the most severe penalty because we have the evidence of the others. But then it undermines the entire rationale of a progressive disciplinary policy, does it not?
Yes.
For the players.
Yes.
The whole league.
Yes. So the principle here is progressive discipline. Discipline should be corrective and progressive, It should inform the employee of what they did was either unacceptable or below performance standards, so they're given the opportunity, they're placed on notice and given the opportunity to correct the behavior. On the other hand, if there is behavior that is so egregious, that so violates the trust necessary or shows that this person is incapable of performing or being entrusted at this job site, then an immediate removal would be appropriate. And so somebody bringing a firearm into a facility would be a firing offense. But the notion of progressive discipline is one that usually is applied. It's found in most collective bargaining agreements, most disciplinary policies for minor offenses that can be corrected, all right, as opposed to, in this case, that there was multiple violations that they did see, and that's why they imposed the severity of this penalty. Let me just give you this other caveat, okay? In 2013, Major League Baseball suspended 13 players for violating the Joint Drug Prevention and Treatment Program. 13, okay? Ryan Braun, who was the subject of a prior arbitration, and in that case, the chain of custody of the urine sample was broken. Right? They collected the urine sample after a baseball game that the Brewers played in Texas against the Texas Rangers. The sample was supposed to be placed in a FedEx container, double sealed, and placed in the custody of FedEx to be delivered to the lab. Rather than do that, the official who was designated to collect the urine sample took it home with him and put it in the beer fridge in the basement where it stayed for the weekend. Anybody go down there? Well, yeah. My son, his friends, and well, that's where the beer is. They watched the ball game, played pool, they had a great time. Anybody else have access to that refrigerator? Well, I put fishing bait in there. So arbitrator Shamdas ruled that because the chain of custody had been broken, that the results of that sample could not be relied upon, and that is how that disciplinary action got set aside. Right. After that case, Ryan Braun himself admitted that he had used performance-enhancing drugs and accepted a 50-game suspension. 12 other players accepted a suspension of a varying time, some of 50, some was second offense was 100 games. Alex Rodriguez denied everything. I never did it, I never took it, and after some of this had hit the newspapers, Major League Baseball began this extensive investigation, and it unveiled or revealed the activities of biogenesis that included detailed information about the relationship between Dr. Booth and Alex Rodriguez. Right? The public health department in Miami inspected Biogenesis, and he was fined after being charged with practicing medicine without a license. Booth, in our scenario, failed to cooperate at all with Major League Baseball in the investigation. In fact, Alex Rodriguez paid for Booth's legal counsel, coordinated with Booth's personal attorney and Rodriguez's attorney, Roy Black, to put out a statement supporting Alex Rodriguez's statement that he denied everything. Well, as it turns out, that was not accurate. Right? There was a mountain of other evidence showing how Alex Rodriguez was complicit in taking banned performance-enhancing drugs and performance-enhancing substances. The point I'm making is that if Alex Rodriguez had cooperated with Major League Baseball, he may have gotten a 50-game suspension, or at worst, a 100-game suspension, because he did engage in a pattern of deceit and deception and denigration. I love the 3 Ds she strung together there. Alliteration, correct. That Major League Baseball took it upon themselves to really find out the truth, and they engaged in some investigative techniques that did raise some eyebrows. And it was one of the points made by the Players Association that this whole thing should be thrown out because they've engaged in untoward behavior. They've engaged in what bordered on illegal behavior. So, what else?
I think they should vote.
All right. Based on the testimony you have heard today, you are now all empowered as being on the arbitration panel for Major League Baseball and the Players Association. Based on the testimony and evidence you heard this morning, would you vote to uphold the 211-game suspension of Alex Rodriguez? Yes, uphold that suspension. 1.
We didn't know that the tests were based on this hearing. So we're doing good.
How many people would overturn the suspension, return him, back pay, the whole 9 yards? Raise your hand. Okay, all right.
Did the arbitrator have authority to do something in between?
Play ball.
How many of you would have banned him, given him a lifetime ban? Why not? He violated the policy at least 3 times.
Past practice kind of alarmed me. You know,
Oh,
at the beginning,
yeah.
past practice, you want to touch on that because usually.
Well, yes. Let me address that, if I
You
might.
brought that up when you were, when you're.
Yeah. Okay. In the award, it is recognized that the prior disciplinary action imposed these 13 other players and other cases that have come before the panel, right, on this same issue. All the settlements were reached on a non-precedent basis. Further, the parties agreed that none of those cases could be used in the Rodriguez hearing. So, a principle, a point that usually always comes out, the consistency of the disciplinary action was taken off the table in this case. Now, again, it's a little different, but that's what they decided. Yeah.
Is that something that management and legal both decided at the hearing?
Prior to the hearing.
Getting ready for the hearing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Let me just give you a little flavor. These hearings were held in New York City. The arbitrator was Fred Horowitz, an arbitrator from California. There were 20 lawyers at the hearing. 20. We are talking about a case that got all sorts of national publicity. It went to the integrity of Major League Baseball, and you had a very, very wealthy grievant who had the ability to not only rely upon counsel from the union, but to hire an entire group of lawyers. 3 different law firms were representing Alex Rodriguez, in addition to counsel for the Players Association. There were days and days and days of hearings. There were motion after motion after motion filed to increase the amount of evidence or to limit the amount of evidence to be introduced. So finally, when it did get to the hearing, we had the motion for subpoena of Commissioner Seeley. Well, that had to be briefed and decided by the arbitrator. So we finally get to the hearing itself, and all the evidence comes forward, and our arbitrator Horowitz had to make his final and binding decision. and that decision was joined by the arbitrator representing Major League Baseball. It was dissented by the Players Association arbitrator, okay? But he didn't get fired. So, how much all right, let's see. Yeah, some of it. In the past, Major League Baseball and the players have successfully kept appeal hearing proceedings private and confidential in matters involving a positive test result. But in this case, the alleged connection between biogenesis and many Major League Baseball players, including Rodriguez, was widely reported by the media and closely followed. Suffice to say, media interest remained intense throughout the hearings, and the scrutiny will undoubtedly continue until completion of this process and beyond. So here we are. All right, Section 7G.2 requires that a just cause standard be applied in the assessment of Major League Baseball's disciplinary action. Common factors to be evaluated in the determination of just cause are proportionality. Does the level of discipline bear a reasonable relationship to the seriousness and frequency of the offense? Whether the discipline is progressive, is the object to correct rather than to punish, and compliance with the labor agreement. Is the penalty consistent with a framework adopted by the parties? Prior arbitration panels in baseball have variously described and uniformly applied these factors when assessing just cause discipline imposed on Major League Baseball players. Major League Baseball asserts that if the commissioner were bound by the progressive discipline schedule set forth in the JDA, Rodriguez would be subject to a lifetime ban under the holding of the Perez case because he committed at least 3 separate violations of the program involving at least 3 distinct prohibited substances, and thus would receive a 50-game suspension for his use of the first substance, testosterone, a 100-game suspension for his use of the second substance, HGH, and a lifetime ban for his use of the third substance, IGF. Accordingly, baseball asserts that when compared to the lifeline ban that Rodriguez would have received, if the commissioner was bound to follow the progressive penalty structure, the suspension of Rodriguez for the remainder of the 2013 season and the 2014 season was indeed reasonable and appropriate. However, because the commissioner did not impose a lifetime ban, and because neither the commissioner nor this panel is bound by the penalty structure of 7A, it is not necessary to determine whether a lifetime ban of Rodriguez would be supported by the language of 7A. All right, so bottom line is, based on the entire record from this arbitration, Major League Baseball has demonstrated with clear and convincing evidence that there is just cause to suspend the grievance for the 2014 season and the 2014 postseason for having violated the joint drug program by the use and or possession of testosterone, IGF, and HGH over the course of 3 years, and for the 2 attempts to obstruct Major League Baseball's investigation described above, which violated Article 12B of the Basic Agreement. While this length of suspension may be unprecedented for a Major League Baseball player, so is the misconduct he committed. The suspension imposed by Major League Baseball as modified herein is hereby sustained. The grievance is sustained in part and denied in part. Major League Baseball has just cause to suspend Alex Rodriguez for the 2014 season and the 2014 postseason. He reduced the penalty by 39 games, I believe, is the operative figure. For the remainder of the 2013, that part was overturned. But 1 season, 2014. Okay? So the evidence that was presented at hearing was a little bit different than what you heard this morning, okay? Well, what I wanted to do was to give you the opportunity to hear from 2 witnesses each to experience direct examination and cross-examination, okay? So,
It sounded like you disagreed with the decision, or from what was presented you disagreed, or you agree with the eventual decision?
I disagreed with Bud Selig not testifying. I thought Bud Selig should have testified, okay? If you're going to sign the letter of suspension, then you expose yourself to justifying it before the triers of fact, okay? Now, when you look at the totality of the evidence, he did engage in the alleged behavior. You know, some of the factors here, Mr. Booth testified on behalf of the union in this proceeding this morning. In the actual hearing, Mr. Booth testified on behalf of Major League Baseball. In the actual hearing, Mr. Booth testified about his phone records that included over 500 instant messages, MBB message, BlackBerry, that contained references to securing banned substances, meeting Mr. Rodriguez in Tampa and Miami and Atlanta for the purpose of conducting treatments. At one point, one of the instant messages, Mr. Booth said, "I'm going to bring your meds," and Rodriguez responded with, "Not meds, dude, food, food." Always describe it as food. Major League Baseball brought a civil suit against Biogenesis and against Mr. Booth personally, suing him for engaging in behavior to promote activity that violated Major League Baseball's drug prevention program and undermined the integrity of the game, and was seeking damages in the tens of millions of dollars. They also wanted to depose not only him, but his entire family. So Mr. Booth, he engaged Major League Baseball in a mutual cooperative agreement. And Major League Baseball provided him with consideration, picked up his legal fees, provided him with security for his own protection and his family's protection at a rate of over $2,500 a day for that personal protection. So, if you take that testimony and put it on the other side, that was very persuasive testimony. If it is supported by the exchange of information between Rodriguez and Mr. Booth, and you add to that the notebooks that had entries of the treatment schedule, the weight of the evidence really starts to go in favor of Major League Baseball. Okay? So was the case, and continues to generate publicity today. In fact, most recently this past week, there are stories about Alex Rodriguez being interviewed by federal agents and admitting to federal investigators that he did use the banned substances in question. Okay? So the truth eventually, will come out. Okay? So let us thank the court reporter for her good service here today. Let me thank our panel members who served so brilliantly today. Let us thank counsel. And by the way, Ms. Houlihan is the namesake of one of the attorneys in this case. And in other areas, Ms. Houlihan, not the same Ms. Houlihan, was one of the women who was reported to be dating Alex Rodriguez. So, who knew? Who knew? Mr. Kaline from the Detroit Tigers, Hall of Fame right fielder. We certainly enjoyed your participation today.
It's not really
I happen to own Al Kaline's rookie card, and I can tell you this man looks nothing like that.
And Mr. Tapioca, you made your arguments with great energy and great insight, but they just didn't hold up. We want to thank our witnesses as well for their good-natured participation on both sides. And Director Koenig, I think we stand adjourned. Oh, the flag. You want to replay? You want to replay?
Do that, or do they have to pay you? They don't have much money.
Yeah.